saddest live video that I have ever done, and I hope to ever do. This morning I woke up at about 6:30, so that's like an hour ago, and I got a message to call a hospital in the United States. When I called them, they told me that my uncle had died during the night, aged 68, and I'm just hearing this news just an hour ago. Some of you might be wondering, why on earth would you get on alive? Well, I'm in Nigeria. I am hearing this news very early in the morning, and no one is awake. So this is just cathartic for me. I'm still a bit in shock because I wasn't expecting this news at all. If I take you back to how it all began, at the end of January this year, my uncle had a massive stroke, a major stroke. He collapsed in the kitchen of his house, and he was taken to hospital, and they found that he had a very extensive brain bleed, and his blood pressure was very high. It was like very high, and they didn't expect him to live. They did some surgery on him to relieve the pressure in his skull, and were able to keep him in a stable condition. So basically, since January, he's been minimally conscious, only able to communicate with his eyelids and moving fingers, and sometimes he would move. He had a feeding tube that was attached to his stomach. He was also on a ventilator, and he had a tracheostomy, I believe it's called, where they put the ventilator tube through your windpipe. So he'd been in that condition. Doctors had said that they didn't believe that he was at any imminent risk of death, but they didn't believe that he would recover to any significant degree, and that if he did recover, he would be very disabled. They were not able at that time to tell the extent of the damage to his brain as due to the brain bleed, the stroke, but they said that he would not return to the condition that he was prior to his stroke. Now, I spoke to my uncle a couple of weeks before he had the stroke. He was in good health. He didn't have any health conditions that he didn't have any health conditions. He didn't have high blood pressure. He didn't have diabetes. He didn't have anything, and he was pretty much a health freak. One thing that I do know is that he was about to take the COVID-19 booster jab, and that's what he told me because of his line of work where he's exposed to a lot of people. This is literally what he did, and within some weeks of him taking this injection, he basically had this massive stroke. I'm not medical, I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you that it's definitive that the cause of his demise was due to the COVID booster. But what I can say is that these things happened in the same kind of time frame, so people can draw their conclusions. Anyway, so how am I feeling right now? I'm feeling very in shock. I'm not feeling any emotion at the moment. I'm still very shocked. I can feel something in my body. I can feel that something very terrible has happened, but I don't feel any emotion. I know I'm in shock. I know that that's going to wear off, but I trying to stop myself from freaking out and panicking in a way, and just talking into the camera at this point in time is very cathartic. I have spoken to my husband, I have spoken to my dad, but obviously it is also my dad's loss. It's his junior brother that died, so it's a very hard time for everybody right now. And wow, life is just so short. And you know, someone could be here today and then gone tomorrow. This life is just such a crazy thing. It really is a crazy thing. I really didn't envisage that on this trip that I'd have to be dealing with a death. I am not even sure. Like, my head is racing actually at the moment. I'm just like, what is going to happen? You know, all of his family are here in Nigeria. Are we going to bring him back to Nigeria, bury him in Nigeria? Is he going to be buried in the United States? I'm just very conscious. I don't really believe in keeping people's bodies in the mortuary for a long time, but right now it's kind of like what to do. So there is going to be a family meeting where everybody sits down once the news has been digested to figure out what's going to happen. I can feel as I'm talking, my heart is pounding. I feel really tight in the chest, and I just feel like if I keep on talking, that's the only way that I'm gonna be able to keep myself calm. Wow, Uncle Michael, my favorite uncle. Yeah, it's just so difficult, guys. It's horrible. Death. When I called the hospital, I didn't even have the headspace to even know, like, to even ask any questions, to even figure out what actually happened. Did he go into cardiac arrest? Did they have to resuscitate him? I just got the news and told them that once I had processed the news in my head, that I would be back in touch with them. Yeah, the whole demise of my uncle was actually, even when we found out about the stroke, it was actually quite traumatic. Basically, he collapsed in his kitchen back in January, and he lived in a kind of like apartment building where there was other people there. Anyway, one of the people that lives in his apartment building found him, and they called the emergency services, and they were pretty freaked out by what they saw, that he was collapsed on the floor. Apparently he was still coherent to some degree, but he couldn't move. I think it was the left side of his body. There had been an incident a year before where somebody in that apartment building had just died, an older person. So they were kind of freaked out. They called emergency services. But unfortunately, they didn't go in the ambulance with him, and they didn't want to venture too much into his room or anything to grab his ID. So they just grabbed what they could find, and I think it was like a bill of some kind. One of his bills, I don't know whether it was a telephone bill or a utility bill, and it had his name on it. And so basically they sent him to hospital with this utility bill, and they gave it to the paramedics. When they got to hospital, I don't know what happened. I don't know whether that the paramedics didn't pass on the information about his name, but basically the hospital admitted him as an unknown person. And what this particular hospital does when someone comes in with no ID and unidentifiable, they basically make up a name. So they made up a name, Quincy OBH Switzerland, and this was the name that they put on his medical records. So basically, anybody trying to look for him couldn't find him. So apparently the people that lived in his building tried to the next day find out, you know, how he was doing. And when they called the hospital with his real name, the hospital said that there's no no record of such a person. For some reason, they didn't get in contact with us until about a month later. So we didn't find out as the family until a month later. People had tried to call him, but just couldn't get through to him. No one thought anything strange of that. But I remember a month later, I got a random call from a lady that lived in his building telling me what had happened. And I was just so shocked that no one did anything sooner. She said that she'd actually managed to go into his room in his apartment and go through his phone and find a family member. So they contacted me, and they told me what happened, and they told me what hospital they thought the paramedics had taken him to. I called that night every damn hospital in New York City trying to locate my uncle. Nothing. Every single hospital said that he wasn't there. And I'm like, oh my God. I called the kind of like paramedic services, and they told me that he was taken to a hospital called Brookdale Hospital. I called Brookdale Hospital, and they said there's no trace of such a person ever being admitted into that hospital. So it's like, what the crap? You know, I was conversing with my dad, and we were playing around with the idea of maybe the hospital didn't take him there. Maybe they took him to the A&E and he got up and decided not to be there and got lost somewhere. You know, we were playing with all kinds of crazy ideas. We did not understand how the emergency services have confirmed that they picked him up, but there's no record of where he was dropped off. You know, it got to a point that I started going through, in New York City, there is kind of like a directory online that you can go through the bodies of unidentified dead people. So they've got pictures of people and the circumstance where they were found, the date of death and things like that. And I was going through pictures of people trying to find my uncle. I contacted the police. I tried to file a missing persons report. I couldn't find anything. I did find one picture that kind of looked like him in a way. And, you know, I passed it around family members trying to figure out, is this my uncle? Is this Uncle Michael? And it was kind of like, we don't really think so. But like, we couldn't solve the pieces of the puzzle. We couldn't solve it. And then I called again and again this Brookdale Hospital. I called every department. I said, okay, you know, even if you don't have this person here, is there anyone in the hospital that's been admitted that is unidentified, an unidentified black man? Is there anybody of that name or anyone that matches the description in the hospital? And I had the phone put down on me so many times. Then I got a WhatsApp message from one of the women that lived in the apartment building where my uncle lived, saying that a security officer from the hospital had come round to the apartment building and left a note. And the note said, basically, we think we have a gentleman here who could match the description of my uncle. Please call this number. So I called the number immediately, and basically the security guard said that he would pass me on to the social worker that was dealing with my uncle's case. So when somebody comes in as an unidentified person into a hospital in the States, they get assigned a social worker who tries their damnedest to find the family and locate the family. So all in all, I was then eventually put through to the social worker. I think this was like, it took about 2 or 3 days, and then I got the news that he was literally in a vegetative state. It's called a vegetative state or minimally conscious, whereby he is, he can move in terms of, he could blink, he could move his fingers, he had reflexes, and literally, ever since that day, he's pretty much stayed in that condition. And I was next of kin in this situation. And, you know, it was put to me by doctors quite a few times whether to switch off his life support. I spoke with the family at large, and it was decided that we should give him a fighting chance and leave him on life support and see what happens. And it's been such a roller coaster because I don't know whether many of you know that there are complications that can happen when somebody is on a ventilator. Being on a ventilator is no mean feat. It is quite a serious trauma to your body. And you know, when you're having tubes put into your body, when you're having a feeding tube put into your stomach area, and one surgery and having a ventilator tube put down your throat, there's always the risk of infection. There's always a risk of mucus buildup in your trachea. And this happened so many times. I got emergency calls to, to authorize treatment because they had to get authorization from the next of kin every time that they did treatment. So literally my phone has been glued to me for the last God knows how many months. Of late, he didn't get any infections like in the last, well, at least since I've been in Nigeria. He didn't get any fevers, and I did check up with the hospital on regular intervals, and nothing changed in terms of his condition. Just a couple of days ago, I spoke to the hospital and his condition was stable, as in there was no imminent threat of death. And so I don't really know what happened last night. When I got the news that he'd expired, I wasn't really in the mindset, because it's like literally just over an hour ago that I got that news. I didn't have it in my mind to find out what happened, like what led to it, whether he got an infection, he couldn't fight it, whether, I just don't know. I will later on today call the hospital back and speak to the doctor in length and find out exactly what happened. But his condition wasn't good. His condition wasn't good. He was stable then, but there was really no chance of him making a recovery. So, oh my goodness, just talking to you guys. I know a few of you are online, a few of you've come offline and come back again. It's been really cathartic. I just don't want to get myself in a panic. My children are going to be waking up very soon, and I don't want them to see me in a panic state, because they will panic. So I've got to just try and keep myself calm, and just talking into the camera is doing that. It's giving, I'm just relaxing a bit more. I'm relaxing a bit more. It's sinking in a lot more, you know. Although it's a shock that he died now, I wasn't expecting it. It's not a shock that he was in a bad situation. You know, it's something that I've been dealing with, you know, for the last number of months. He's not in any pain now. He's resting. He's not in any pain. He's resting. But it's, wow, it's just so strange that my uncle is gone, and I'm not going to see him again. I'm not going to be able to pick up the phone and talk to him again. It's final, guys. It's final. Death is such a final thing. It's cruel. Ow. I'm never, ever in this life going to be able to communicate with my uncle again. I can still hear his voice in my head. I still know what he sounds like. I've still got WhatsApp messages that we shared, we communicated, and yet he's not coming back. It's, you know, when you just get that news and you begin to realize that person is no longer here. That person has left the building. It's, you know, yesterday when he was still alive, he still had a chance. Today, he's no more. my father's brother. It's it's a hard one. It's a hard one. It's a hard one. It's a hard one. But thank you guys for giving me this platform to be able to just not freak out in my house, to be able to speak. And I know that right now as I'm talking, people are listening. It does give me so much comfort to be able to just, just get it out a little bit. And, when I switch off the camera, I gotta face the music. I gotta face the music. I don't even know what to do. I don't even know what to do. Yesterday, I spent the day with family members, and we did talk about my Uncle Michael. And actually, I did even say that I didn't think he was going to recover. I really thought he was going to stay like this for some more months. And, I didn't realize it was going to be this soon. Some family members were like, pray for a miracle. A miracle can happen. But I had pretty much made up in my mind that it was not going to improve. I didn't think he was going to deteriorate, but I kind of knew that he wasn't going to improve. And then this morning, I get the news that it's over. My plan this morning in about 3 hours was to go and visit another family member. There was going to be some other family members coming to see me there. I think the best thing to do is to still do that. Keep to my plans and just be around family today, and kind of mulling over, just kind of, I don't even know what the word is, just reminiscing, sharing stories, grieving together. If at all it kicks in. Grief is a funny thing. It doesn't kick in straight away. I don't know how I'm going to feel in 3 hours. I really don't. But that's what I'm going to do for today. And we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. So I think I'm ready to go and face the music. So guys, thank you for watching this. It really helped me. It really helped me. I'm going to start my day and face the music. And I don't know where to from here. So thank you for listening. Thank you. And I'll see you in another video. Bye. Just remember, guys, life is short, right? Life is short. Life is really short. Anybody that's holding on to bitterness or animosity towards a family member or just anybody, life is just too short. We are not promised a tomorrow, so just remember that, Remember, life is really short. No one knows what's going to happen, and we all know that at one point we're going to meet our makers. So peace, love, just enjoy the time we have.